MacIver, Sandi MacIver here from Stampin' and Blogging and Stampin' with Sandi, and I got a fun little project for you, card in a box. Isn't this cool? I've been having a lot of fun with these, and I've actually been creating these in 3 different sizes. This little guy, though, what's cool about him is even though it's an explosion all over the place of this little birthday card, if you fold it closed, it fits into one of our standard envelopes. Now, isn't that cool? So what we're going to do is we're going to zip through this first part of the video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the cutting instructions for the base of the box and all of the mat pieces along with the cute little back. Isn't that cute? And then the next video we will build all the embellishments and put it together. That way the videos won't be too long. One thing I want to remind you of, you can stop me at any time just by clicking anywhere on the video, and then when you've caught up to me, just click the video again and it will start right up, okay? So let's get started. For this project you need your Stampin' Trimmer. Awesome little tool. You also need 1 piece of cardstock of your choice, okay? So I'm just going to show you, I did a little template here. I find that a visual is a really good thing. I learned that way, so probably you guys do too. We're going to cut this to 5.5 by 9, and then what we're going to do is we're going to work our way across. We're going to score 2 1/8, 4 1/4, 6 3/8, and 8 1/2. Then we're going to turn it, and we're going to score long ways at 2 3/4. Then we're going to pop it back in and we're going to cut just the top pieces. See how these guys are cut? That's what makes this little piece at the top here, okay? So clear as mud, right? Let's work our way through it. We're going to put it in, and the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to cut this at 5.5, turn it, and 9 on this side. Okay, whoops, that's my scoring tool. I do this all the time with this guy. Okay, so this is the piece we need. It's 5.5 by 9. Everybody got that so far? Okay, so we're going to pop it in. Move your cutting tool out of the way. We don't need it right now. We're going to start from the left-hand side. I'm going to move this down a little bit so that you can see it. Okay, and the first score that we're going to make is at 2 1/8. So press it down there and score all the way through. The next one that we're going to make is over here at 8 1/4. And you're going to score that little guy. I'm sorry, 4 1/4. Then we're going to move over and we're going to do 6 3/8. And see the little brown spot here on, I'm going to zoom in here because I want to show this to you. This was where I got kind of stuck. Okay, see this little piece right here? The corner groove at 3 is right almost at the edge of the brown piece. So what I did was I drew a little line with my white marker, and so I know that if I butt up against that, not quite to the edge of the brown, that is my 6 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to score that one. Of course, now I'm too close for you to see any of this. So then the next score line is going to be at 8 1/2. Okay, so now we've got all our scores on the landscape side. You're going to turn to the portrait side or the long side, and you're going to score this at 2 3/4 all the way down. Okay? Okay, so while we're still in scoring mode, we're going to take this piece that we cut off and we're going to put it back in here, and we're looking for 3 inches. The first thing we're going to do is cut that. So now we have a 3 by 3, okay? Move it over to the 1/2 inch, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch, turn it around the other way, and score the other side at 1/2 inch. Put it in long ways and cut 2 1-inch strips, okay? There's one. And I'm going to line up the 1 inch. What I'm doing is lining up with the 1 inch over here. I find it easier and it gives me a little bit more to hold on to. If you are left-handed, you might want to do it the other way. Okay, so you need 2 of these, and basically you're just going to fold these little guys back like this, and these are the little pieces for the inside that are going to hold our embellishments for us. Okay, so we're just going to set those aside for a second. We are going to bring our piece back in again, and we're going to be using the cutting tool. Okay, so now I've got my cutter at the top, and what we're going to do is we are going to start again, and we're going to start at 2 1/8. We're going to use our cutter and we're going to pull it down to the 2 3/4 mark here on the bar, and you'll see that not only can you see the 2 3/4, but you've also got this cross piece that we scored, okay? So pick it up, move it over to 4 1/4, and the piece that you scored should be sitting right in the valley where we're going to be cutting. So again, you're going to cut down to 2 3/4. Move it again, and we're going back over to our 6 3/8, my little white mark that I have on the side of my cutter. And I'm checking the groove, so you're kind of doing a double check here. This is very important. These cuts are the most important. If you don't get this right, your box won't fit together properly, okay? And so the last one is 8 1/2, and it's this little guy right here. And again, we're pulling it down to 2 3/4. There we go. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to grab your scissors, and we're going to snip off on an angle this little piece here on the corner, okay? So now this is our tab that's going to hold our box closed, and this one here is going to be the back, so we don't want to bend that. These 3 guys are going to be the sides, okay? So here's the back up here, and then when it's closed, this side, this side, this side, okay? Clear as mud? I know. We'll get there, I promise. Okay, so next we're going to work on the mats that are going to go between our designer paper and the box bottom. And mine is done in crisp cantaloupe, and I've got all the pieces here, and I'm going to show you a really fast and easy way how to do this, okay? So again, we're using our cutter, and I'm actually working with a 12 by 12 piece of the cardstock because I actually ran out of my 8 1/2 by 11, but either one works, okay? And what you're going to do is the measurements for these are 1 7/8 inch wide, and then you've got 2 different measurements. One is 5 1/8, and all the rest of them are 2 3/8. So the easiest way to do this is stick this into your cutter, and we're going to cut strips, okay? So 1 7/8, and you're going to cut 3 of these. Now I've already got my other ones done, so I'm not going to worry about it, okay? So then what I do is, I'm going to bring this down a little bit so you can see it. You're going to pop these in here. You're going to cut 2 at 5 1/8, and I've already got them, these 2 little guys here, but I need 3 more of the shorter ones, so they're 2 3/8. And so basically you're just going to line this little guy up, and you are going to run these through like this, and it works really fast if you do it this way. You'll have them all done in no time, and you don't waste any paper at all. So see, I've got these 3 here, I've got these 3 here, and now I've got these 3. So those are all the pieces that you need for the matting. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm working with the Birthday Basics designer paper from Stampin' Up, and as you can see, I've got all my other pieces cut out. Okay, so on your mats, there's 9 of the little guys, there's 2 of the big guys. When we get to cutting these guys, the measurements are a tiny little bit smaller, okay? For these guys, they're 1 3/4 strips, okay? So I'm bringing my cutter back in here again. And what you're going to do is, again, use your 12 by 12, and this time you're going to cut your strips at 1 3/4 inches like this. Then you're going to turn them, and you're going to cut your other measurements. This time you're going to need one that is 1 3/4 by 5, okay? So zip through and cut those. You get the idea. I'm going to move my cutter out of the way. And then what you're going to do is you need 3 for the top 3 pieces here, okay? When you close the box, you'll notice that it's also on the top, so you need 3 more on the top. And then as the box is closed, you'll notice that I'm using a different color on the bottom, okay? So 3 for the top, 3 for the back of the top, and then what I did was I turned my designer paper over, because you know that Stampin' Up always has designer paper that matches on both sides, even though it may be a different pattern. So it's perfect for just flipping these little guys over, and I don't have to cut another strip, because look, it's all I did was flip them over. So these are all ready to go. All we need to do now is add snail, layer them, and we're going to attach them all onto this little box. If you do this while it's flat, it's a lot easier to do than putting your card together or your box together first and then trying to do it. Okay, so I have all my little pieces put together. I saved you the pain of watching me do that. Okay, so one thing I have noticed as I've been building these, that is if you go along and fold all of these score lines, making sure that your box is square when you're doing it, it makes it a little bit easier to place these pieces of the designer paper and the mat that we've been working on, okay? Just giving you a little heads up on that. Okay, so we got those, and then you don't want to bend this one, the one that's closest to your tab, you don't want to bend that one, okay? And the tab is going to go in ways, so these guys are going to go out ways. There's good English, huh? All right, and I have ink all over my fingers again. Imagine that. All right, so let's start. So the easiest thing to do is start with one of the big guys. And so this is the piece that's going to be the back inside of the box. So it's going to get placed right here. Now you don't see the inside of the box, and these three are the inside of the box. So we're not putting anything there. If you have a pattern that's going a certain way, this is the time that you want to make sure that all the balloons are flying the right ways up. So heads up on that one. The one that I made for the sample, underneath all of the design elements, it's actually the numbers, and they go all different directions. So when I did that first one, I didn't really have to think about it because they were all going different directions. This guy, you got to remember to put the balloons the right ways up. All right, here's my last one for the inside. So then we're going to flip this little guy over, and we're going to do the same thing on the back. This one goes on the top, and the reason that we've got this piece of vanilla is because everything's going to be decorated. This is where you're going to put your sentiment to the person that you're giving the box to, okay? So there's room on the back for you to write a little something, and of course, as I showed you, I had to just get in there and embellish it as well. I had all these little leftover pieces, and you'll see why, because it had something to do with the punches that I was using, and it made all these cool little confetti leftovers, and I didn't want to waste them, so I decided to use them as my decoration elements. All right, we're almost done. Isn't this cool? Can you see the way this box is coming together? Really, really cool, and how easy it is to put all these pieces down. A little time consuming because there's so many pieces, but that's all right. You end up with this very cool box out the other end. I call this my birthday explosion box. And I ordered a stamp set especially to make this one. You're going to love this new stamp set. I found it in the Spring Mini catalog, I think. No, actually, it's in the big catalog. All right, so there we go. The last thing I need to do is get some sticky strip. Okay, so I'm going to give you a heads up about two things to do with the sticky strip. If you put it as close as you can to the score line that's there, then it's going to keep the box really nice and tight. If you leave it out here on the side, you're going to see a big gap where the box goes together, okay? And the other thing is I have found that if you burnish this down, it makes removing this protective cover so much easier. See? Okay, so here's the trick. Close this side. This was my sticky strip is right here, okay? And then you're going to take this box and you're going to close this side. There we go, just like that. So when you open this, look what happens. You have the whole base of your box all ready to go. Isn't that cool? So pretty balloons all over the place. And then if you go to close it this way, you have all these little pretties. And what I did when I was building this card was I worked on my grid paper, and I want to show you why. As I started to decorate, so what I'm doing is I kept it down in the corner, and I drew a pencil line where 4 1/4 and 5 1/2 were, because that's the size of our envelopes, right? And so while I was doing my decorating, I kept coming back and popping it on here to make sure that it would fit into the envelope still. And what's really cool about it is, see how it goes in on an angle like that? Well, this is what can happen. See all these things that are sticking out? When you go to fold it that way, it doesn't really fit. But if you fold it this way, look what happens. It fits perfectly. Very cool. So that's the trick for the next video, is I'm going to show you how to put all these things in so that they can be sticking out the side, but everything's going to still fit inside an envelope. So have fun making that little box and get ready, because we're coming back for embellishments. I wanted to share with you the stamp set that we're going to be using. This is called the Cycle Celebration, and it's an awesome one. We use this, we use this, we use some of the sentiments. I actually layered this 2 or 3 times on the front here, and I made these out of punches. So what you're going to need, I said to a friend the other day when I showed her this box, I said I used everything in my studio, and you'll see by the collection of punches that I'm about to show you that you need. I really did use everything in my studio. The balloons are made with this little oval, 3/4 by 15/16. We're going to use a whole bunch of pieces from the Owl Builder. These little feet down here are actually what make the bottom of the little balloon here. Okay, there's little cupcakes all on the side, and I did that with a cupcake builder punch. Then the sentiment on the front was punched out with the decorative label punch, all right, and it was also layered with the large oval. And the circles on the side were punched with the 1 3/4 inch circles. So I'm giving you that ahead of time so that you can collect all of those. And we also have some markers that we were playing with. We stuck with the colors that are in the designer paper. That's where I got my idea from. So to make the little white spots on the balloons, you're going to need your gel marker. And we also used the Bermuda Bay, the Gumball Green, and the Raspberry Ripple for coloring our candles, and we did a little bit of gold embossing. So there you go. That'll get you started. Collect all those up and come on back, and let's do the next video.